Previously on the Sunless Citadel.
Do you think that maybe these creatures have something to do with the druid?
They do have the power to control natural life, so perhaps they were sent as some sort of warning.
Ain't druids a myth? Like from stories that we tell youngins?
My wife, Nera, was actually a practicing druid. It was a closely guarded secret. She taught me many things about the druidic arts, and, well, it's given me a newfound respect for the craft. From what I can tell, this druid seems to be using nature as a destructive weapon.
Okay, let's get going.
All right. We do have that game we want to play.
Yes, Thorn is excited.
All right, so the game basically you have to cover your eyes with the blindfold, and then I'll guide you, Thorn, and then Seeker will guide Meepo. And the important thing here is you don't take the blindfold off.
Throughout the vastness of the multiverse, there lies a tavern. As you approach its doors, you catch bubbles of laughter that rise and burst into cheers as colorful groups of travelers find comfort in their bonds. As you head inside, the smile of the tavern keeper greets you. They're an otherworldly being with a bluish, corporeal form. They wear attire befitting of an innkeeper, and they have a large, cloudy nebula for hair speckled with stars, which gently sways with their movement.
Welcome to the Storyteller's Tavern, where stories are served like ale and a seat is open for you at every table. Tonight's special is the Sunless Citadel, an epic adventure of high fantasy with notes of friendship, danger, and most importantly, hope. Will our adventure survive to descent into the dungeon? Or is there a dark and calamity taking root far from the sun's reach?
Seeker is the first one to enter this place. Mortis right behind it, holding Meepo's hand and the torch lighting up the place. When Methuselah reaches the threshold of the door, the flash of the light illuminates enough for you to see yourself in one of those shackles in a long time ago, and with other people in those shackles too. Before one of the garrison guards approach you with a Thorn and kick you awake. This memory is vivid on you. Thorn, this half priest, half soldier, looking down on you from his beautiful elven eyes and asks, "You sing? You were found with an instrument."
Yes, I play an instrument.
Good. The Dark Warden wants entertainment for his meal. Count yourself lucky for your not appetizer. And then he turns to the garrison guard beside him, points towards the two people beside you, two random strangers with clothing of merchants, and go, "Those two will suffice. That can be appetizer."
I'm gonna just look up at him and be like, Where's Chrysantha? Where did you take her? Where has she gone?
Kind of side glances you and then nods towards the guard. The guard just full on kicks your face and goes, "Quiet entertainment. You're not yet made to sing. You will sing to the Dark Warden when he tells you. If you do not want to die and might want to see this Chrysantha, you will behave and be quiet. Nod if you understand."
Methuselah nods very slowly.
Good. And as they turn to walk away, the flash of the torchlight illuminates your view again and brings you out of this vision. Mortis is already on the surface level with Seeker looking around.
Methuselah just kind of like gasps to themselves and just walks back into the door and just stares.
Thorn runs into your back and is like, "Oh, what's happening? Did we win?"
I'm gonna kind of jolt out of it and collect myself momentarily and realize that Thorn, was behind me and be like, sorry, my friend. Yes, We won.
Yes! We did it, Methuselah! You are the best of all the elves that Thorn has never not met.
Well, thank you so much, my friend, but the work and the victory was yours.
Before the blindfolds come off of Meepo and Thorn, Seeker's going to kind of speak up. Hi, Meepo, Thorn. How about y'all keep the blindfolds on? We could keep the game going, do like a round 2, and you guys can even win a bigger prize. What do you think?
What's the prize?
Well, I was gonna give each of you a silver piece for this first one, but if you do really well on the second one, I'll up it to a gold piece each.
Oh, yes! Thorn likes that idea.
Meepo like shiny! Yeah!
Yeah, that sounds good. And then they're gonna turn to Mortis and kind of gesture Mortis closer to them. Hi Mortis. They're whispering, by the way. How about you get those kobolds untied? I just don't really think that would be good for Meepo to see, you know?
Agreed. Would you mind holding on to him while I do that?
Yeah, I can do that, don't worry. And Seeger's gonna kind of like take Meepo back and kind of like pull him a bit closer and tuck his face kind of into them, so that even if they decide to take off even if he decides to take off the blindfold, he won't see the like tied up kobolds.
Before Mortis proceeds, just looking around the room quickly, he doesn't see any sort of traps or anything on the ground.
No, but as you look around the room, you do notice that little cage in one of the corners. And from this cage, you see a humanoid hand, akin to that of a normal human's hand, not scaly and not akin to a goblin's, but normal hand per se, but much smaller, almost as if it was a child's hand. And the arm is half poking out of the cage because the cage is so much smaller compared to the occupant, and it kind of puts the palm against the light to kind of protect their eyes. You don't see the rest of the occupant yet. You need to get closer for that.
Can I see that as well?
As you enter the rest of the room, you kind of do see in the far corner. It's farther away, so you see less detail, but yes, you do see it.
Mortis is gonna kind of give the cage a sort of sideways glance, and then he's gonna move more so towards the kobolds, but he's gonna keep the cage just in his peripheral vision as he walks.
I'm gonna go up to the cage.
I imagine Thorn's holding onto the tail of Methuselah's coat, just kind of along for the ride.
I think I'm a little bit distracted by the vision a bit, so I'm not even realizing that Thorn is there.
You approach the kobolds. They finally wake up, feeling your presence, and they look around. They see you. They kind of scurry close to each other as if they were scared. And then they see Meepo blindfolded, and they go, "Meepo! Meepo!" And Meepo goes, "Ah! I know that voice! That's you! Rollo! Rollo? Yeah, Meepo! That's Rollo! What are you doing here? Why are you blindfolded? Are these now with the goblins too?"
Mortis just quickly speaks up. He's like, "Oh no, we're not with the goblins who kidnapped you. We were actually sent by Eustrel. We came to rescue you and see if we could recover your precious dragon."
They all perk up as they hear that you guys are there to save them. Then they stand up pretty much on a jump, and although they seem weaker and thinner compared to Meepo and all the other kobolds you guys have met, they quickly extend their hands to show them the rope that is binding them on their wrists, and they start approaching you. The best way that I can describe it is just like the little aliens from Toy Story. Yeah.
The clown. The turtle.
The turtle.
They're all saying, "Please, please, let us go. Yes, save us. Yeah."
Speaking of claws, Mortis is going to kneel down, and with his free hand, he's going to use his claws to gently cut through the bindings of each of the kobolds.
you're able to cut loose the kobolds, and they all not only start rubbing their wrists because of the feeling of the rope not touching it anymore. After situating themselves, realizing that this is real, they all approach you and hug your legs.
Or just like gently pats some of their heads. Oh, it's all right, little ones. You're safe now.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ah! And they start thanking you for that, for freeing them. I'm gonna now jump to Methuselah because this would have been enough time. Methuselah, when you approach the cage, the light of the torch illuminates just enough for you to be able to see a good portion of it, and the rest is done by your night vision. You clearly see what seems to be a miniature human. Miniature, I mean by 3 feet? Maybe 3 feet and a half?
They halfling?
Their features are a little bit more sharp, elegant almost, but they're so small, even smaller than a halfling, a little. You hear them with a raspy little voice, raspy because of the lack of water. And you clearly see also that this cage is much smaller than this individual, because the limbs are half poking out, halving inside of the cage, and their head is kind of forced to the side. And the guy looks at you, its brown beard completely uncapped and the hair frizzled. He goes, "Help! If you're not with the goblins, please help."
Yes, my friend, don't worry, we'll get you out. Thorn, you won the game. I need your help.
Oh, yes! Oh, take that, Meepo. Yes, Thorn is the best. Thorn is the best. And Thorn starts like doing a little dance.
Yes, I'll get Seeker to give you your prize, but I need you to take off the blindfold, and if you have a water skin, could I borrow it?
Thorn rips the blindfold off, and then he takes his water skin and gives it to Methuselah.
Oh wait, is this the one that you filled up from the fountain?
Yes, it's very spicy.
You don't have any other water?
Mortis just like faintly hears you guys talking. Is everything all right over there?
I need water skin. There's someone here that needs our help.
Yes, sure. I imagine Mortis takes like 3 steps with the kobold just clinging to his legs. Like he's like, and he just reaches into his pouch, pulls out his water skin, and just sort of gently tosses it to Methuselah.
I'm gonna give Thorn back his water skin, and then I'm gonna uncork the one that Mortis gave me, and I'm gonna give it to the person, which I assume would be a gnome. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yes, you are.
I have encountered gnomes before, so know what one would look like.
Yes, you're quite correct, actually. You have seen a gnome before, and this is clearly a gnome person.
Yeah, there was gnomes in Fool's Fortune too, so...
Meanwhile, this is happening. Thorn is like, yeah, okay, whatever, I don't care about this dude. He's gonna run over to where Meepo is, still blindfolded, and like pull the blindfold off Meepo's face with like a big smile and be like,
Thorn won. Thorn won.
What? But why?
I don't know, but Thorn won because Meepo is very slow.
Oh, Thorn Meepo is so fast.
And Seeker's gonna kind of pat Meepo's head. But yeah, but Meepo, we found some of your friends. How about you go and reunite with them? They seem very excited to see you.
Yeah! Over there! And Meepo starts to run and sees that the 3 kobolds are hugging. Like 2 of them is in one leg, the other one is on the other leg. And he looks at them, he goes, "Oh, okay!" And then he also hugs the leg that only has one of the kobolds. So there's now 4 kobolds attached to your legs, Mortis.
Well, I guess I'll just stand here for a moment.
Thorn kind of like looks up at Seeker and like raises his hands like, because he wants his coin.
Where's my money?
Seeker is going to go into their like money pouch. They're gonna pull out 2 silver pieces and 2 gold pieces and hand like one of each of them to Thorn and the other like set to Meepo.
So after kind of giving them the water skin, Methuselah is just going to be like, what's your name, my friend?
There is a bit of difficulty for him to grab the water skin and get to actually drink it, because the way that he is positioned within this confined cage, he struggles, but he finally gets to drink some of it. A good portion of it falls onto the ground, but then he goes, "Thank you. Yes, my name, it's Ezekiel Ramirez Kaiden Euro. You can call me Erky."
Well, Erky, it's nice to meet you. We're gonna get you out of here.
On this, like, cage, is there, like, a lock, or what's the...
Behind this cage, there is a large piece of debris that is clearly blocking the door that swings, but there is like other adjacent debris in key parts of the cage to make it unmovable as well. So it's propped against 3 types of debris that are heavy, and the biggest one is blocking the door of this cage completely. You can see from your angle that the door lock is kind of like unusable, so the door would be easily able to swing open, but they put it like that so this gnome could not be able to escape.
How long have you been here, my friend?
I believe weeks now. It's been a little while.
Were you taken by the goblins or the dragons?
The goblins? There hasn't been dragons in years. Decades.
Clearly, you're under a lot of trauma right now.
Clearly you don't remember the Empire.
Methuselah and Meepo just be like, roll for doubt.
There is no dragons in Destry anymore. It's all that there is wandering dragons that are still young, and maybe one establishing here and there, but there hasn't been a dragon in Destry for decades. No, it was the goblins who took me and my... And he kind of looks sad for a moment. My compatriots.
Who are your compatriots, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't mind you asking, but if you're not with the goblins, can I ask you to free me first? This is very uncomfortable.
Oh, yes, sorry. Sometimes I get too wrapped up in people's sort of stories. So, sorry, my friend.
And then I'll kind of look towards, like, Mortis, and I'm gonna be like,
Mortis, I need your help over here. We need to get our friend here out.
Mortis kind of just perks up at being called. Is he able to like walk over, or are his legs still detained?
You're clearly on difficult terrain right now due to the extra weight.
Before he tries to move, Mortis is just gonna sort of pat the heads of the kobolds and be like, would you mind releasing me, my friends? I understand that you're quite affectionate, but I need to go see what Methuselah over there needs.
With different nods and different ways of saying yes, all of them at the same time just drops out of your legs, and they make a little circle to talk to Meepo. And yeah, now you're free to approach.
Or just shoots them a little smile before walking over to where Methuselah is. What have we here?
We have a friend. His name is Erky. It seems he's been taken by the goblins, and we should probably help him out.
Erky? Well, we can't turn away someone in need.
Oh no, and it seems that he's bumped his head and doesn't remember the dragons that are around here. So, I think he's in a very bad state.
What do you mean? Dragons? No, there's no dragons in Destry.
Bumped his head very badly.
Mortis doesn't really say. He kind of just glances at Methuselah like, what? Like, he doesn't say that, but that's just the look in his eyes. He's just like, whatever. He turns his attention towards the debris blocking the cage. Realistically, just kind of looking at it, does it look like it's something he could move by hand?
Yes, with the right amount of force, you might be able to maybe roll it over. It's just that there is like that base on the ground for this boulder that it's a little bit more stable, but with enough pressure you'll be able to roll it over and it gets out of the way just fine.
Before he attempts it, he turns to Methuselah. Would you be able to hold this for me? And he just sort of holds out the torch.
Oh yes, of course, and I'll take the torch from Mortis.
He's gonna walk over to the debris and sort of stretch. All right, let us see what these old bones can do. And he's gonna try to push aside some of the debris to the best of his ability.
Do for me an athletics check.
That is a 19.
It's just a few seconds of preparation before, but then with a good shove you're able to shift the weight of the boulder and it rolls past its more stable base, and then it rolls out of the way. The door literally swings open on itself because the lock is unusable. So as it swings open, Erky, you see visibly that he's excited and he starts to slowly get out.
Can I reach out a hand to kind of help him out?
And with that, he takes it. He's able to get out with more ease out of the little cage. And finally, when he's able to stand up, he reaches his full 3 feet tall. And he goes, thank you. Wow. I don't believe I've been in here for so long. It hurts everything.
I know how you feel, my friend. I was taken captive by the dragons for quite some time, so I do know how hard it is to be sort of confined to such a place.
With that, now that he has an opportunity to look at Methuselah and look at everybody, he just looks confused, especially to Mortis, because Mortis has not shown the same sort of belief. So he goes, look, thank you for saving me, but why do you keep saying that?
Mortis kind of butts in. He's like, sorry, my friend here can get a little bit confused sometimes. He has a bit of trauma regarding dragons and remnants of the Draconic Empire.
But, I mean, there's a story? He's scared of the legends?
We try not to bring it up too much. We don't want to disturb him.
Oh, okay. Alright. But no. The goblins are the ones that treated me like this. Me and my compatriots from Ion. We came from the forest to look for the apple. A few weeks ago. Maybe 2-3 weeks. And, it's a little bit hard to explain. I don't know if you guys know my forest, my land.
Are we allowed to do history checks?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I got a 19, actually, this time, because last time it was an 18, but I couldn't math.
I got a 9.
You faintly know the stuff. You'll know the general direction to Ion, based on the talks that you had with the member of the Fool's Fortune that was from Ion. But you never really paid too much attention. That guy was a brute of sorts. So, yeah, not your closest friend from the Fool's Fortune, if anything. He's still a good guy, but, man, maybe not the closest.
I mean, everyone was nice in Fool's Fortune, so...
Yeah, but he was more he liked to say his opinions, when he had tall opinions. Or maybe just a little bit of a confrontational, where he likes to put his ideas forward. For you, on the other hand, you have heard of the tales from many sources from Ion, the southern region neighboring to Lestri, the magical forests with trees that easily reach 15 to 30 feet tall, dense moments of vegetation, dense areas of vegetation here and there, but then others that are magically beautiful groves and lakes and small rivers. And you have met some of the gnomes who were from Ion that would do trade with the community of turtles, being that one of the closest communities to the borders to Ion.
Yes. I've never actually been to Iome myself, but I do know a bit about it. When I was a young lad, one of my earliest jobs as a warrior of the Tension Dynasty was to protect a merchant from Iome who was traveling through Lestry. He told me quite a bit. My wife always wanted to visit the forests, but unfortunately we never managed to make it out.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that there is familiarity. I did not want to assume. But yes, my group, my compatriots and I, we are followers of Lyrta, pilgrims of Lyrta. We are all about understanding the world, like she did. Based on your check, you would know who Lyrta is. She is one of the most, if not the most popular goddess within the gnomish pantheon. And is a goddess of wisdom, a goddess of knowledge, that in the conversations that you have had, your understanding of her is that she is a goddess of seeking out new knowledge and to search and to understand it, and inspires people to be more curious. We heard of the apple, and because of its interesting healing properties, we wanted to understand it more, so we sought out the goblins in this area. We were 6, not counting myself, but we were taken by the goblins on an ambush, and He kind of takes a pause. I, being the oldest and the most faithful, the leader of our group per se, Sorry, it's difficult to say.
It's all right. Take your time.
He kind of sighs, breathes in. I was locked up here, and the goblins, they were very cruel. When they found out that we were a group searching for the apple, not focused on money or getting it, we wanted to trade for knowledge, we wanted to negotiate with them, but they did not like our proposal. When they found out that I was the leader, they forced me to stay locked up and look as each of my compatriots were taken somewhere else. I was meant to be the last one. I am.
So you don't know where your friends were taken, then?
I have a suspicion. There is, it seems, some sort of garden somewhere in here, and the goblins whispers about this garden and about a druid that resides within. At first, I thought that they were just talking about some sort of wandering wizard or magician, one akin to and familiar with the magical arts of light. But it seems that this individual has a closer connection to nature, which would matches with the stories about druids. So now I'm not sure if it's legend anymore or if it is for real, but the goblins do whisper about how each of my compatriots was taken to see this druid, and now I'm quite certain that they are not alive anymore.
Mortis's expression kind of noticeably changes at the mention of the druid, and he just sort of sighs to himself.
We have also heard of this mischievous druid. He has sent many undead hordes and creatures against us in our path.
I can imagine. I've seen one of the goblins scurry and hide when a group of skeletons entered woven with vines, wandered within this place to look about as if it was in patrolling, and then wander out, not paying attention to me and the rest of my fellow compatriots that were still here.
Have you heard the goblins whispering about what the druid is doing down here?
A little, but yes. This druid seems to be nurturing this garden, enchanting it. They don't speak much, but they speak about a name that seems to be what the the druid protects the most, feeds it. They call it Gulfias. By the sound that they treat it, it's almost as if this druid was nurturing, like as if it was a plant of sorts.
That does sound treacherous. It is my belief that this druid is using and manipulating the goblins into serving him. They are mere pawns in this game.
I made the same conclusions. I don't know what the goblins gain out of this. Maybe protection, or maybe they benefit from the druid somehow with gifts, or maybe even to be able to use the apple. Maybe there is financial gain. I didn't think the goblins to be that greedy. I thought the goblins were more about survival, but these could be different.
Well, it beggars belief that perhaps maybe this plant might have something to do with the apple, if not be where the apple is from. If there's legend of the apple of virtue being here, then I suppose maybe its source is here as well, and perhaps the druid is corrupting that force in some way.
My hypothesis is that the apple itself comes from this Gulfias plant or thing, because it seems to be the focus of everyone's conversation. How the druid cares for it, how the druid needs to feed it, and then afterwards they just talk about the apple that is yet to come. So that's my hypothesis.
Yes, I suppose that's my hypothesis as well.
Mortis's expression shifts to one of determination. A fiend such as that should not have control of something as potent as the apple of virtue.
Especially if they're corrupting it for evil.
Indeed. Do you have any sort of idea where the apple or this plant may reside?
Unfortunately, I was brought here by the goblins, and I have stayed here, watched as they take more captives, and then they take them away. I'm surprised they lasted this long, to be honest. And if not for the blessing of my goddess, I'm pretty sure I would be dead by either starvation or their abuses. But I do not know. The goblins sure knows. I just want to bring it up that at this point, Seeker would have noticed the little conversation on the far end, and maybe you want to approach if you want.
Seeker's ears are gonna perk up again, and they're gonna make a beeline for Erky and just drop down to get on Erky's level. What captives?
He looks at you, and you see a faint look of recognition, almost. He goes, "Oh, sorry, you're from Tom's Rest, right?"
Yeah, I am. Why?
Well, no more than a day or two ago. It's hard to keep track under here. The goblins brought up captives. One was a well-armored human. I would have called him a knight in other circumstances. But the other one was Tabaxi, with garments akin to a traveling priest. She called herself Faith.
That's my sister. Where did they take her?
No more than a day ago, the goblins brought them to the druid.
Which way?
Like I said, I've been here, stuck this entire time. The goblins will know. I don't know where to go from here.
At that point, they're gonna leave that room and they're gonna try and go up onto the platform.
Sure, yeah. You guys see Seeker storming out. I don't know if Thorn wants to do anything. I don't know if the two of you want to do anything. Meeple is clearly distracted with his friends to notice anything.
I would say that during all of this, Thorn has probably been distracted by following Meepo over to Meepo's friends and meeting them.
there is a clear moment of panic when the friends meet Thorn. But Meepo is able to explain the situation and shows how friendly the two of you are. And the kobolds, although hesitant, they actually start to take up the word of Meepo because they see how genuine Meepo is with you. And they are still scared because of the circumstances that they have been in. But they start treating you okay, in a better way. But then Meepo goes,
No, you can treat Thorn Meepo like family. Even Dreepo has spoken to Thorn about finding people and being part of family too.
and then that starts to help them a little bit. Does Thorn say anything?
Thorn probably like leads them in a little spin, like the monkey spin. Like he just like starts spinning them around and like he's just so happy. He just wants to play.
Roll for me a charisma check. With advantage, please, because of Meeple's help.
18.
The genuine feeling of Thorn's goodness and playfulness, together with Meeple's well-assured comments, makes them all start to accept you. Slowly but surely, you guys all are holding hands and going in circles as if it was a bunch of 5-year-olds playing on the playground, genuinely happy.
Yeah, Thorn probably doesn't break out of this like little joyous moment until he sees Seeker just like run past him and out of the room. And at that point, he's like very confused as to what's going on, and he probably goes and follows Seeker.
I would say that both Mortis and Methuselah also notice, as they are looking at Seeker storming out of the room, they see little Thorn following behind it.
Oh no, I think you should deal with that real quickly.
Yes, try to not stop Seeker, just tell them to wait up. We need to handle this delicately. And then as soon as he says that, he's gonna turn towards Thorn. Where are you going, my friend?
Seeker's gone to the other room.
Yes, I believe they might just be a bit rushed. That we might have found a sign of where their sister has gone.
Yes, then we must go. We must hurry. We must go now.
But we don't want to leave Meepo and his friends behind.
Yes, they can come with us. Same with the other one, the tiny little beard one.
Mortis thinks for a moment and he's like, well, I actually, before you all came into that room, I tried to climb up the barrier there and it was a bit of a challenge. So I was wondering if you'd like to take a ride in my shell for old time's sake.
Oh, okay.
And then Thorn like climbs up the back of Mortis's shell and like sits on Mortis's neck, but more of like an on the shoulder ride sort of thing.
I'm gonna look at like Erky and be like, well, I don't know if you know your way out, but you're welcome to come with us if you need.
I was actually going to ask you if it is okay for me to join you. These people, these goblins, these monsters, he took my friends away. I need to make sure that they can't do that anymore. This is not about vengeance. This is about making sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else. And if there is something going on in this garden, I want to help. Maybe prevent something worse.
Are you sure? You don't quite look in the condition to be sort of fighting, and there's lots of dangers down here.
Our group ventured from the forests of Ion, rolling hills of Sentry Soul. Although it's quite an easy path on Sentry Soul, there's still its fair share of problems. We know how to handle ourselves.
He says like, oh, Sentry Soul has like an easy path. I'm just like thinking in my head, like what? It's not easy to travel across Sentry Soul. It's not that well developed. But I don't really bring it up. That's just my thoughts.
All right, if you insist. There is a group of like kobolds down here that are quite friendly. So if you did want a place to sort of rest, you could travel with them back. But if you are insistent about coming with us, I'm sure that's all right.
Yes, I do. He looks to the ground. He finds what seems to be a piece of wood, but it looks sturdier than most. So he grabs it, tests it, and he goes, "Not my best use of a club, but, well, I can try. Let's go."
Before we go, I think there's something I should prepare you for.
What do you mean?
We had a bit of a scuffle with some goblins in the next room, and it's a little tough to look at. The aftermath was quite gory.
I mean, you guys are adventurers and probably have seen your fair share of combat. I have seen my fair share in travels too. So I don't see what the issue is here.
It just might be a lot for some people, so I just thought it would be wise to warn you ahead of time in case, it might bring up any sort of past traumas or tortures or whatnot.
He looks at you confused and he goes, "Why would you... what?"
I think you'll see when you see it.
Sure. Okay, I'll follow you then.
And yeah, I'll now follow after everyone with Erky.
I was actually gonna say, like, Mortis, now that Thorn is in his shell, he turns towards Meepo and the kobolds, like,
My friends, are you going to be coming with us?
Rollo looks at the other two, and they all look at you, and then they shake their heads.
No way! We're going back! Yeah! We want to live!
Understandable. The path back should be fairly clear, though the druid did summon some creatures to attack us in the hallway, so be on your guard.
and then he sort of turns his eyes towards Meepo.
Meepo, will you be guiding your allies back, or will you be continuing on with us?
There's a moment where he looks at his friends, and then he looks at you, and he looks at his friends, and then looks at you, and then it like slides towards Thorn behind you, like on your neck. Then he goes,
I would love to, but I have a mission. Dribut always told me, never do something without finishing your meal first. I need to finish this first. They are good. Rollo is a good scout. Rollo knows how to get back, even when lost. So Rollo can guide them.
Very noble of you.
And then Mortis is gonna kind of do his turtle thing where he turns his head inwards towards his shell.
Thorn, Meepo will be continuing on with us, but your new friends will be heading back. Would you like to say your goodbyes?
Oh, yes. Thorn climbs down, and then he runs over and he initiates a group hug.
they all embrace you, and each of them at their own way and little voice, they go,
Goodbye, poor Neepo. Yeah, goodbye. We'll see you again, no Neepo.
Yes, I will see you again very soon. I promise to bring Meepo back nice and safe.
all of them nod excitedly, but then they all look around and books it, like big full-on dash towards the door. They don't want to be here at all.
Thorn looks at Meepo and goes,
Meepo, listen. Come with me onto the back of Mortis. It's very fun up there.
He was waving at his friends who were clearly just dashing, but then he notices what you're saying. He goes,
Huh? Sure. Can I fit? Can we fit?
I will go on Mortis's shoulders and you curl up in the little shell space that is there.
Sure. I mean, I have my bag.
and he kind of shuffles them. It's almost like a equivalent to a traveler's, like a one of those people that do backpacking, but made of garbage and rope and stuff all together. So it's quite big on little Meepo, maybe even just as big as he is, but on his back. He goes,
Can I fit it?
Thorn forgot that you were carrying that big bag. Maybe instead then you stay on ground and Thorn will stay on ground with you. Just for this little bit before we have to go climbing, because Thorn does not want you to be lonely.
Okay, can we hold hands?
Yes, we can hold hands.
Mortis hears this and he kind of walks over and he's like,
You know, Meepo, if you'd like, I can hold your bag for you, and I do have a pretty hefty shell, so perhaps the two of you will be able to fit in there together.
He looks wide-eyed as if a new idea was just introduced to his brain. And he goes,
Nobody ever asked to do hold Meeple's bag. You can?
Of course, if you want.
What?
and then he looks at Thorn as almost as if like, this is so new, I need to ask if it is okay to do.
Oh yes, he is very strong, and Meepo knows that if his shoulders are ever heavy, Thorn will also hold his bag for him too.
Oh, and then he looks at Mortis.
Oh, yes, please.
Mortis just like smiles at Meepo and then just takes the bag from him and slings it over his shoulder.
For you, it's barely like a purse. Because Meepo is very small.
And then Mortis is gonna turn to Thorn and be like,
You know, Thorn, if you want, you can show Meepo your old hideout in there.
Thorn kind of thinks to himself and goes,
What about Meepo takes the shell? Because Meepo has never had anyone carry his bag for him before. Maybe Meepo has never had anyone carry him before.
Mortis just kind of looks at him, and he's very stoic, so you get really parsed from his face, but there's a slight twinge in his expression, where in the back of his head, all he's thinking is, I really can't argue with that logic. So he's just sort of like, are Methuselah and Erky still in the room?
By now they would have reached the door, but clearly Methuselah is waiting for Mortis and Thorn and Meepo, together with Erky.
I might even be like eyeing you, like, what's going on? Like, why isn't Thorn like in your shell? Like, what are we doing?
Mortis like turns his head and just sort of glances at Methuselah, and Methuselah, all you see is just in his eyes the most pure, unadulterated expression of "help me." Like, just the most desperate look you've ever seen on a living person.
On a living turtle.
Like, you've never seen Mortis this just like in defeat.
He's like sweating. Like, I'm gonna come over and be like, are you guys ready to continue?
Yes. Meepo has never, hear this. Meepo has never had anyone hold his bag for him before. So Weez was thinking that Weez was gonna make Meepo hang out in Mortis's shell so that Meepo can feel what it's like to have someone carry him.
Ah, I see. That's not a bad idea. Well,
Thorn is gonna kind of like look at Methuselah and look at Mortis, and look at Methuselah and look at Mortis, and what would I roll to start being suspicious?
Do your insight, and you're gonna go against the passive charisma of Mortis.
I got a 15.
Yeah, that passes.
Something is off.
Is something wrong? I think it would just be very nice for Meepo to ride around.
Meepo wants to run around.
oh yes, I think that's a great idea. And I look at Mortis and I'm like, it's just sort of. I'm looking at you as like, are we saying this before we show it? Because I don't think that we can hide it.
Methuselah, you see Mortis, and the look of just utter stress on his face just shifts, and he closes his eyes for a second, and when he opens it again, you can see a sort of look of acceptance, and then he walks over to Thorn and kneels down.
Thorn, I need to tell you something.
Okay, yes, you can tell Thorn anything.
We haven't been entirely truthful with you.
Okay. About what?
When we were having our engagement with the goblins, something happened to you. I'm not sure if you recall, but you were communicating with the goblins. I think you were trying to talk them down, I'm not sure. But they said something, and it seemed to trigger you in some way. After a moment, something overtook you, and you weren't yourself anymore. You attacked with ferocity unlike what I've ever seen, and released a power that killed all of the goblins.
I suppose we kept it from you because you might have known these goblins, and it might be hard to see such carnage.
But before you react, you must know that after looking into your friend a bit more, it is our belief that this Sadalin overtook you and used you. You did not kill those goblins. He did.
Thorn kind of stares at you, and he's kind of thinking to himself, and his smile is like sort of unwavering. And then he shrugs and he goes,
That's okay.
Oh, you have reached the end of this episode of the Sunless Citadel. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to us on whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, and be sure to catch the next installment of the Sunless Citadel every Thursday on 12 p.m. EST. If you like the show, please consider leaving us a review. It's a small way to show your appreciation and support that goes a very long way. To connect with us, follow our social media accounts. And if you'd like to support us, you can head over to our Patreon to join the conversation, view sneak peeks of our next project, and discover our fantastical bonus content. Our intro score was created by Patrick Wharton from Off the Beaten Path musical. The Sunless Citadel can be found in Tales of the Yawning Portal, the book by Wizards of the Coast. The world of Nosso Mondus was created by Pedro Stockler. Thanks very much for listening for all of us here at the Storyteller's Tavern, and by Leerta, guide us out of here.